Welcome to the Smoke and Rope Podcast. Today is episode 66, and I'm your host, Ryan Basor. And today we have on reoccurring guest and Cannabis Michigan legend, Jamie Lowell. Jamie, thanks for being on the show.
Man, thanks for having me here.
We're excited to talk about CannaJam today, and what a great event it was. And then I'd like to introduce Kevin over at True Cannabis. What's up, Kevin?
Not much, man. Excited to have Jamie on the show. It's always fun to chat it up with him. Sorry I missed CannaJam, guys. I was busy up north, but I did watch some of Rick Thompson's live stream, and I got to tell you, Tom, I was ultra impressed with the Pink Floyd rendition, dude. It was awesome, dude.
Yeah, we had people came up to me like, "Oh, I was expecting a bar band," Like I get it. I won't be offended. It's okay. In my previous life, professional musician, and still that's my, and I don't hire people to join my band that, won't be, do the music justice. So thank you.
Yeah. No. And with that, Tom Beller at Real Leaf. Tom, how are you recovering from the weekend?
A little bit longer than a few years ago even, but great, man. It was exciting, man. There's a serious afterglow after you perform, and it's interesting how long you ride it out and how long it lasts, and then there's a recovery period. The refractory period afterwards is then it's extending, but I'd do it again in a heartbeat. Let's do it.
Yeah, that's really cool. I think this was the first of many. We can talk about the event here in a second. I just wanted to introduce, of course, give Jamie Lowell his proper introduction. Could go on all day, but right now Jamie is with the Botanical Company, ASA, Redemption Foundation, and anyone that's an avid listener of the show knows that me and Jamie became buddies in 2009 when I was watching the MMA chat room forums, and some crazy guy was getting into it. So no. But with that, Jamie, thanks for being on. We want to talk about CannaJam with you and Tom, your perspective, and tell us how you thought it went and what are your thoughts and experience.
Yeah, man, thanks again for having me on. This is a great show, and I appreciate having conversations with you guys. And we get to talk about something that was pretty fun for the most part once it came into being. The process to put one of these together is not easy. An event itself is very difficult, but with the extra layers of regulations from the state and the city, and then both of those entities learning, kind of figuring this out as they go along. There's only been like 3 other ones before this one. So it was rough, and I need to give a lot of credit to Michael Comorn and Comorn Law. You guys had a great interview with him not too long ago, and he conceived of this, and he had the team together from within his firm to handle all these trials and tribulations along the way. And it took up to like the day before to officially get the license issued, and to keep everybody online and the whole thing kind of together up till a point when it could actually happen, and then to get the kind of response we got was just really encouraging. I'm inspired, for more of these. And yes, we have a list of 100 things to do better and that we shoulda, woulda, coulda, and we'll look at those and do those. But next time we'll know the processes. Hopefully some things will get eased up on a little bit. We'll be able to do things much more in advance and be organized about it. And there's no way it will not be better. And it's probably for like everybody who's working on these things around the state. We learned some from the ones that went before us, and talked to Mel from I forgot the name of her organization now, but they're a production company, and they put on the first couple like in Niles, Michigan. So it was a challenge, got through it, and then it was a success for an inaugural event.
Yeah, first year festivals, man, they can be a crapshoot. They're typically a loss from a financial standpoint. But then you add all the extra regulatory stuff you're talking about. Jamie, what was anything back from the state yet and a response from the event? Any complaints, any violations, or any feedback like they had a good time? anyone get a contact high? I mean, that valley was pretty smoky.
No, I think no news is good news. I mean, there were some things that the security team had to take care of that were pretty basic that would be expected when there was a gathering of people like that, I guess, and people trying to like roam through, without properly, having a ticket or whatever, or the electronic thing. Some people got some stuff in, some alcohol or something, a couple of times, and had to be escorted out. But there wasn't very much of that, and it was all pretty taken care of, and we're on top of it. There was a city official from Ypsilanti there. There was a state representative there, and there's a former Ann Arbor City Council person there. All of them told me while there that they thought it was great, and they had a great time. So I think no news is good news in this case. We've gotten feedback from some of the vendors formally, and there's a list of stuff that, again, we could be doing better. But by and large, everybody had a great time and benefited from it.
Hey, Jamie, I was there. I had a blast. It's probably the highest I've ever been from just smoking cannabis flower.
Nice.
So that was. I said, you know what? I'm gonna sober up. Doesn't take long, and I just decided to sober up right when Tom came on and Echoes of Pink Floyd came on, and that did not sober me up.
No, that can't last long when that's going on.
No, so just in general, it took me back to my 20s a lot on some stuff, but I had a blast. I think it was way better than I expected. And, it was such a cool location and such a chance to expand on it. One thing I noticed is, this was the first one with like $30 tickets with a discount, $25 tickets. And, a lot of the other cannabis events had the cannabis surcharge on it. And then the other thing that was really cool, made it worth buying a ticket if you just wanted to buy some cannabis, was instead of like a regular sporting events and things like this where alcohol or food is jacked up in pricing and high, the vendors were kind of going to deal wars against each other, and there was just some incredible deals to be had. I know a lot of cannabis got sold, and I thought that was really cool too. I didn't necessarily expect that. But besides that, Tom, I wanted to ask you a question. What was that like getting back on stage after so long? And, being back with your band, but having it, look what you've accomplished since the last time you've played, or since, with the cannabis business. So I'm pretty curious what that was like for you as an experience.
Yeah, the last time the band performed was 2 years ago, and we had one rehearsal a few weeks ago, and we've all felt like we were ready to go back to it. It's kind of like riding a bike, but at first it was kind of rocky, unsure, and once you get your footing, it really is muscle memory, and we've been doing this for a long time. As far as I pumped the brakes quite a bit on performing before, while I was going for the licensure here, while I applied to for the MMFLA, and it was really difficult because a few of the guys in the band are full-time musicians and they rely on this income in order to survive. So once you stop a train from going, you slow it down, and it takes a lot to get that steam going again. But COVID kind of threw a wrench in everyone. So really that just kind of lit the fire for the whole band to get back together. And I mean, everyone is super stoked to do it. And as soon as Dan, our woodwind and flute player, showed up at rehearsal, everyone we're complete, like the gel was there. So it's great, man. Pink Floyd and cannabis go together like ever since I was a kid. That's just, remember smoking as much as we possibly could, and putting on "Wish You Were Here," the album, and laying down in my friend's room just super stoned, listening to the whole album. And he had glow in the dark stars on the ceiling, and where you just kind of zone out, and it's inspiration though for music, and that's it goes hand in hand. So we're pumped.
Yeah, there was a proper production there, and you made sure of it. I heard the rehearsal, man. I knew it was going to be awesome when the time came, and it was even better than expected. It was so
Thanks,
cool.
yeah. Yeah, we're reworking things for 2022, and we're just going to make them better. So, we've got nothing but, it's all uphill from here.
Yep.
We're ready.
My experience with Pink Floyd and that is obviously the same. But when I was a youngster, I'm sure you guys remember when you dubbed the wall with Wizard of Oz, and I had that on a DVD and.
It's Dark Side of the Moon.
Oh, Dark Side of the Moon. My bad.
And we do that show actually. We've performed that show at least a dozen times, where we'll project the Wizard of Oz and we'll play Dark Side live to it. And there are certain things that have to happen, and that takes a lot of discipline. And there's like 2 spots where you can fudge, either if your tempos are dragging or a little bit, where you can actually make up time.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's like you're out the gate and you're running. You're like, you bet everybody's got to be on their game to get that. But that's the kind of challenge that we love, and that's a show that we definitely would love to share with everyone too. It's a wild experience. It's weird. The stuff that happens is really weird. And Pink Floyd originally did a lot of work with motion. They're like film score producers, with Moore and Zabriskie Point, and there's a lot of stuff that they worked on, and the speculation is obviously that was on purpose and not all coincidence, even though they deny it. Sorry, I interrupted your story.
Oh no, that was awesome. I was just wanted to say that it just brought me back, and I might have taken a lot of hallucinogenics back then, and that's when I was saying I was gonna sober up when that came on, and it just was like flashbacks. It was awesome though. So
yeah, let's hope that we can play the the first. Well, it would be the second, because they already had the Entheo Fest, right? The first one.
Yeah. Oh man, that'd be something else.
Mm-hmm. We'd like to do that.
That'd be a nice fit too.
Just curious if if this has sparked anything in you that you may consider doing something other than CannaJam and do some more concerts this year or in the years to come, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, the band is booking starting 2022 as early as January. We already have some things that are on the book, so we haven't shared yet. Working with a special 420 event. So, yeah, it'll be. We plan on playing at least 1 gig a month, and that's a pretty good pace for everyone, because half the band's full-time musician, the other half, they have day jobs, and we don't travel too far. So we like to stay within Michigan and the Midwest, but we're definitely gonna. This is giving us the boost we need to keep booking more.
So I guess this is a Tom, but more of a Jamie question you might know too. So is the idea then? I think it'd be really cool if you guys played this every year. I don't know if that's the plan or if it's been talked about, but also besides that, Jamie, why don't you talk about the other guests that were there? There's a lot of great acts. There's funny comedians. Darren McCarty's great as always. So kind of tell us about the rest of the show, Jamie.
Yeah, it was awesome. And I also want to mention that this whole thing I was able to do with like my favorite groups and people. We had a nonprofit area where a lot of the organizations that I'm involved with and that I otherwise support were there in representation. The benefactors of some of the proceeds is the Redemption Foundation.
Thank you.
And also the John Sinclair Foundation. And John was there performing, and that was awesome. He was with saxophone player Johnny Evans, who was, tremendous in his own right. And John got into it, man. I've seen him perform, a few times lately, and they're all good. But there was some special connection there on this performance. I hope people go back and watch the videos. The hyped up live production guys were there recording it, and it's going to be great to go back and watch some of that. Our good friend Razor Ray Reyes,
of course,
opened the show with a lot of energy, and he's very diverse. I mean, he's most often professionally working in a loud hard rock kind of a setting, or that's his gig. But he does a lot of stuff and has a lot of interest in music. He pulled out a couple of Carlos Santana tunes to go along with the theme of some throwback kind of music. And speaking of that, there's a guy Randy Kaplan. He's a very talented dude. He normally does a lot of kids music professionally, but did like a Bob Dylan set, and he nailed some of those. That was pretty cool.
He was awesome, man.
there was road work with one of the guys from Hyped Up Live Sessions, Tommy, on drums. And every band that guy puts together is a top-level notch grooving band. And I expected there to be some good stuff, and that band was even better than I expected. There's just a lot of great stuff. And then, yeah, we did do some comedy. The Darren McCarty Slapstick Comedy Tour was there. He had another comedian with him that didn't make it on because of scheduling, but normally he has a stand-up comedian, and then he does like a storytelling. And he'll talk about like when he beat the shit out of Lemieux and and stuff, and it's kind of cool definitely for those old fans and everything who are familiar with that story. Yeah, there was another like country band too that was like the Fiddle and the Fox or something like that. They were really good. I mean, everybody was good. Mike Young is a professional comedian. He's an up and coming comedian. I have to admit though, I don't think that it was good, but I don't think it went over. I think the music was the thing that connected to people the most. Some comedy sprinkled in there. I liked what Darren did too. We have to look at that. This is another thing that we learn about, for next year. But in addition to like being able to work with all you guys, of course, Real Leaf and and the fact that Tom's in the band too, and a botanical company and a couple like I've been friends with the people from Stickies ever since they got started, 10 years ago or whatever it is. The place that used to be my place was there. It was now called Oz, formerly Third Coast. A lot of the people who just showed up, a lot of friends I haven't seen in years. I mean, it was just really cool for many reasons personally. I've wanted to do something meaningful like a project with Michael for a long time. Comorn, and I think this is going to be the beginning, and we're definitely looking at doing more of these. I think we were both inspired by this and have begun already looking at what we're going to do for next year. And Ypsilanti's got a few events that the city and Depot Town area really get behind that are done in that location. There's like a jazz fest, there's a beer fest, there's another Frog Island music festival, and we would like to be the cannabis version of that. And that's I've been there for a long time. I know a lot of people. The people in Depot Town really want to support us. The fact that it went down as it did it really puts us in position to kind of compete for that spot. We also know that after we just did this and demonstrated it, there are many other people that are looking at that same spot, and because Ypsi's one of the places that has approved it. They're not all over the place. Right. A spot can do like one, I think, without having to formally opt in. I think they can issue one special license a year, or it might be two, but I think it's one special license a year. So you might be able to piecemeal some areas, but it's going to be attractive because we demonstrated that that's a cool place to do one. So we'll see what else we have to compete with, but we're going to try to be an ongoing thing, and that's supported by the area. And we really want to work cooperatively and in good faith with everybody.
Yeah, that was it was really, really cool. I know. I was, like I said again, and then running into so many people and talking with the Rep Johnson and just everything involved was awesome, Jamie. But I wanted to ask you because I was kind of there when this first started happening. We had some conversations, and I saw you got involved, and you made a major effort to have it non-MCMA. And
yeah.
What do you think would have happened if it was, and the whole vibe, and how did that kind of go down?
Well, I mean, we've known of this threat for a long time before there was any tangible bill or that type of thing to speak of, and have been warning people and trying to educate people on this issue for a very long time. As it turns out, right around now or in the last few weeks, there has been a bills dropped by the MCMA and Steve Linder and the big money interests, and it is big in the news, and it is getting reaction from a lot of people. And so I didn't want this anyway. But particularly now, when it's so prevalent, to have had inclusion of MCMA and affiliate or ilk involved in this whole thing, I think would have been a disaster. There was an event that had Skymint in Niles a few weeks ago, and that underwent a lot of scrutiny and pushback, and eventually Skymint was taken off. They also returned everybody's... Well, as Ryan said, this was the first one that had like kind of somewhat of a reasonable admission cost. but they returned everybody's admission and just let everybody in for free because it got all, just kind of tangled like that. And to avoid that type of pushback from people and costly entanglements, I thought it was very important that we keep those connections out of it, and ultimately that was very much appreciated by Michael and everybody,
myself included.
Yeah, well, and that's cool. I know, and Tom's been on my show, Jazz Cabbage, a couple times, and we've talked about this very thing. I mean, we've done it to promote the show and to recap the show, but it's come up in conversation because it's kind of part of the. It was part of the approach. It was purposeful. And some of the companies that were there selling cannabis do have some MCMA products on their shelves, but I don't believe anybody brought any to this event. I didn't see any, and we kind of made it known that was likely not a good idea. Can't speak make everybody behave in a particular way, but I didn't.
What's the only way to make change, man? You got to hit them in the pocketbooks, and
yeah.
Really, you just don't support it.
So I'm gonna ask Jamie this question, but really it goes out to Tom and Ryan as well. With the shot across the bow last week, like you said, with the bills being dropped by the MCMA, that's obviously caused quite a bit of havoc. But moving forward, I've always said that. When we were drafting legislation before, if we're fighting amongst ourselves, obviously we can't be fighting the people that we really need to be fighting, and that's the legislators, the government, and things like that. Like, what do you see, Jamie, as a resolve to this moving forward? I mean, obviously the MCMA and their guys, they're not going to go away. They're big. They've got a lot of money invested in Michigan, and I think that at some point, we're going to have to do something to kind of resolve our differences so that we can move the industry forward in a fashion that is beneficial for all of us. How do you see this playing out?
Well, what you say might be true, but when something is this ridiculous, we don't have to negotiate. And there's no negotiating these particular bills. The concepts that they want to talk about do lend themselves to a really awesome discussion, but that has to be done in a way where all the important stakeholders are offering meaningful input. It can't just be decided by Steve Linder and the MCMA, what it would look like if the caregivers were able to come back into the commercial market, or what should be done with the existing, or if anything, with the existing caregiver system in order to address some health issue that somebody thinks is going on, or in order to stop people from exceeding limitations. So far, there's no real evidence that there's any pressing health issue that needs to be addressed, and it would not only not be necessary to change anything with existing the caregiver system, it would be inhumane. It would be detrimental to many patients who are relying on a consistent supply of their medicine through that system. And so there is, and then of course that if you actually wanted to go through and read the details of what the proposed new license would do, it doesn't take long to conclude that it's convoluted and overly restrictive and not very likely to be accommodating to somebody who seriously wants to take that route. So there's nothing really there to negotiate. So the effort now has to be to stop it, and it is very possible because it requires a 75%, a 3/4 supermajority vote to change, the act, the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act, because it was initially a petitioned law that was voted on by the people, and that's why it can't be changed by a simple majority or even by 2/3. It has to be a supermajority, which means in the House we need 28 no votes. And to secure that, as far as this process, is kind of the focus. It would be great if it could die in committee. It's had a first reading, which was a
Shit show.
A meeting that was indicative of the challenges that we have in this legislature. There's a lot of favoritism. It was a lopsided presentation. Things were kind of decided ahead of time, quite obviously. I'm really happy for our people that got a chance to speak in opposition. Rick Thompson did a great job. Susan, Amy Carter. I really appreciate the fact that Rep. Johnson and Richard were there. Some people criticize that a little bit, but the reality is they're on our side, and Rep. Johnson has a vote, and she has influence. And, I appreciate that, and I thought that was great. But what I see is if anything is going to happen, we have to force the issue and get people at the table who have the experience and the ability to offer up meaningful input on these issues, and not allow the MCMA or Steve Linder to create these decisions and then use your influence to get the votes they need to push it through.
Yeah.
I mean, so we don't have to negotiate on this one, I don't think, but we do have to probably. Yeah.
Sorry. No, I was just going to say, if the people voted it in, if they want to change it, put it up to the people that voted to change it. Otherwise, it's an act. It's, you know what I mean?
It was pointed out during the hearings that, in this particular act was passed by 63% of the vote and passed by majority in every single of the 83 counties. And there's been no real issue. As I said, what's been presented is this fabricated health concern.
Right.
But no victim, no set of circumstances that is ongoing, that is a real issue that needs to be addressed.
Well, what about discussing the remediation tactics by commercial facilities in order to save crops from microbial failures, using ozone and radiation, literally, to destroy microbial activity on the leaf or the flower surface in order to pass testing at the state level? What about, we don't discuss those types of dangers that are out there that's not actually available to consumers, because it's not something that's required to be labeled if you have remediated product that you are selling. It is, I would say it would be the right thing to do, but we know when there's money involved and people are protecting their money, and especially when more people with a lot of money get together with other people with a lot of money and they form these organizations, they're all looking after obviously keeping that. At any cost.
Advantaging themselves at others' peril.
Right.
They don't care.
Create a good product.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And the ones they're talking about, as we know, people been in their grows, and that's where most of them harking the loudest about safety are the ones that remediate most of their stuff. But for me, if you start this is what I had a visceral reaction, Kevin. We talked about it. I started listening to it, and I just got so mad after the first 20 minutes. I was doing some other work. I was going to listen to it while I did accounting, and that wasn't going to happen if I listened. It was, I got mad just because it's 2021 and we are listening to just pure and utter bullshit, made up and just a fake process. And we're doing this. This is what we're going to do. That's why people hate politics. It's not honest. You come to the table. These are the same people who've been trying to screw us since 2015 or earlier. And all of a sudden they had a change of heart, and they care about it. So it's just lying. They're not good capitalists. They need the government to come in and give them protections. So that's on them. Sorry, but it's frustrating. But I really think we're gonna stop them. But they're not gonna stop until they go bankrupt. So that's the only way.
Well,
that's
we hope
the other thing.
Ride this out to a better composition of lawmakers in the next session too, as part of it. I am concerned about lame duck though. All this stuff can come back up, and especially if it passes out of committee and they don't take it up to the floor right away and it dies, it's hanging out there, and it could make its way into a lame duck negotiation where there's no public input available. And that's always scary. We've been burned by that in the past, in 2012, to be specific. So it's a real concern, and this force of MCMA and all the different things they're doing is formidable. This is the biggest challenge that we've had, I think.
Yeah, I think that when we were doing lobbying before, heavy for the Medical Act, and then again for the adult use, and when we were doing that stuff, I remember there was constant talk about when we get these bills finally passed, the lobbying doesn't stop there. We have to continue pressing forward. And one thing I learned the most about going to those hearings is that I think it's time we need to double and triple down on our lobbying efforts. I mean, the uneducation that I heard from some of these reps that had no idea what the difference between medical marijuana was, what adult use marijuana is. You know, we spent time before going door to door with these people and educating them, and a lot of those people have termed out or moved on to a different position in the Senate, and we've got new blood in office. And I think it's time that I know, Ryan, your frustration is definitely warranted, and not wanting to be a part of politics because of the things that you see going on. But for me, it makes me want to put my suit on every day and get back down there and talk to these people and let them know what's going on, because I think they're just naive.
Good. So one thing that's been really helpful is the fact that the Michigan Cannabis Industry Association officially is in opposition to these bills. I've had some discussions with 4 or 5 lawmakers just in the last 3 or 4 days, and to be able to say that the largest industry association of 300 plus members is in unanimous opposition. I know that you're part of like the legislative committee, and you consider these things, and that's one of the reasons I'm bringing this up, and I've spoken to Robin about it too. And to say the other industry association with 10 or 12 members, albeit made up of the huge investors, are the only ones that want this. The other industry association with considerably more membership is in opposition. All the relevant advocacy organizations are in opposition. The cannabis activists, the caregivers and patients, all in opposition. The only people that think this is a good idea is the MCMA and those who they've been able to influence. That helps to put into perspective for some of the people who are not educated, where this is just on the surface. And then we talk about how it destroys this whole small business industry that's been built up around in support of the caregiver system, with all the grow shops around the states and all the employees that they have and all the ancillary businesses connected to those. And then we talk about how inhumane it is to make caregivers decide between one patient of their many patients. And that type of education has been very helpful, from my perspective lately.
Yeah, no matter what, you have to consider the source, right? In life, it doesn't matter what the subject is. I think the source of these bills are these large organizations that seemingly on the surface it might make them look like they're trying to give the caregivers a bone by some way to get into the market, but they're actually just imposing the same restrictions that exist for them anyway. It's just you're right. Educating people, like
it's so disingenuous.
Yeah.
What they're doing is ridiculous. So if you remember, many people do from it was in the news a couple times. There was some language that the MCMA and Steve Linder were circulating before last summer, and it was in 3 parts. And it started off talking about the Delta 8 thing. Now that did go through. That was agreed on to change the definition of cannabis and open up all the acts for it and all that kind of stuff. And then that happened. The second part of this was what to do with this caregiver. Same thing we're talking about now. At that time, they were talking about reducing plant counts per patient, and it was going about decimating the system in a different way than they actually ended up proposing. The third part was about how to make it more difficult for small businesses to thrive in this industry, where they basically showed their ass. They don't care about health concerns or anything like that. They care about stopping any activity that's not them. That's their MO here. So
and then what happens? Then what happens when it goes to the Senate? I mean, geez, oh Pete's, that's we're shit out of luck in the Senate, and anything could happen to the bill at that point. You never know what kind of deals are made and this and that. I mean, you can't trust them at all. You can't trust them. So I guess this is the reason. This is time. Jamie, you mentioned it. The Michigan Cannabis Industry Associations. When we started, all of us started all that. That was, it had to be done. It had to be done, and if we hadn't done that, we'd be getting steamrolled right now. That's the only thing. It's the only thing blocking this from going through, in my opinion. Now we're going to get a lot of help from a lot of other people, but if we didn't have that, I think we'd be in grave danger because, it is what it is, and we've been lobbying and fighting and trying to keep the law the same for a long time, and not a lot of the people, besides activists and lawyers, are now, part of the MICAA. So a lot of the MICAA is made up of the people that have been lobbying to protect the law and wrote the law. So it's not a normal trade association. There's no other one like it in the country or the world in cannabis, because it's not the way it's set up and who started it and the history behind it. So
It has some big picture reference, unlike the other organization, and that's necessary. I mean, really, for this issue, for this emerging industry.
Without them, I mean, really, we'd be looking like every other state. Look at California, look at Oregon, look at what's happening to these states that Colorado, where going to a provisioning center, the people that live there that are really into cannabis, they're just like, why would I do that? There's nothing of quality there. And you go to these states, go shop at a store and see what your options are versus everything that's good. That's what I was told by friends of mine out west. Everything, I was like, what's going on with the stores? Why can't I find anything that I even want to smoke there? And they're like, well, anything of quality goes to the black market because all of the larger companies have taken over, and everything that they provide is of a lower quality. And that's what's going to happen, is you're just going to either have to go to the black market for something of quality, or you go to a store that's run by several companies to get your booth stash. I mean, that's what people are up against.
Well, I think the other thing, real quick, Ryan, is the affordability. I've said it for a long time. We're never the notion that this legislation is somehow going to combat the black market is absolutely absurd, right? The only way that we're ever going to compete with the black market is to get pricing in the same area code as the black market, and that's the big failure here. As far as the patients go, you can take away their caregiver. Okay, fine, right? But they have to have medicine. You have to figure out a way to get them medicine in an affordable way to make this compassionate and make it work the way it was designed. And so the red tape to me is what has bogged everything down. Doing all this unnecessary stuff that we shouldn't be doing creates more expense. And until we start addressing that stuff, and I want to see the MCMA, I challenge them, come up with some legislation that eliminates some of that bullshit and get us on track to where we're actually competitive, and then start going after the caregivers if that's your notion later on down the road. But let's make this function before you even think about doing anything with them.
It's
100%.
It's so
280E.
so short. It's short-sighted. So short-sighted. And I saw your comment, Chris Silva. Don't forget about Oklahoma. There's not too, the Chads and Brads get run out of there. But this is just, it drives me nuts because Michigan is my dream is to see Michigan be the number one spot in the world for cannabis. It has been for a long time, and the way that happens is this open competition. We've had 40,000 caregivers sourcing genetics, talking, and just the knowledge and the talented people that have been groomed here because they're here. We're lucky enough to have it happen for us, and but also people moving. So every day, I don't know about you guys, but every day I'm getting up, working as hard as I can to try to stay ahead of the next guy, because it ain't easy. There's a lot of competition out there, and if you get lackadaisical at any point, so we're waking up, going all out. And there's other states, if you got 10, 20 licenses and you're making money, they're not innovating anymore. So when the walls come down, it's going to be all over the world before we're dead, and we want, Michigan's got to be able to compete. Like, let's not limit our abilities here. So I guess if that's the case, maybe we do, and we need them. There's no point to this. It's just it's basically a guy's getting paid. They need this to happen, and they're paying a lot of money to make this happen, and they've been crafting it and working on it for a long time. But it's all, it's all bullshit. But besides that, I wanted to... stuff.
I want to say something though. I really turned to Instagram and follow a lot of caregivers, and I love watching caregivers grows and the flower that's coming out of their grows, because it inspires me to know what. I mean, not everyone who's a caregiver is a great grower. I mean, let's just, but people that have really put their whole lives into it and they're passionate about it, and they're keeping the genetic pool open and diverse, which is very important. Mm-hmm. And also they're inspiring us to know what good flower should be like, because once you scale up to thousands of plants, you have that is an art form in and of itself. But if you're not hitting benchmarks that people that can hit in their own homes, in your facility, then you need to back off your scaling. and get back on, get on quality control. And it's important for caregivers to also, they inspire me to do this every day. And we need the gene pool.
Yeah, thinking about all the gene pool, but think about all the wonderful growers that get the chance to do it here, and now there's a lot of, younger guys and girls growing right when they're graduating, turning 18 or 21, whatever it is. So awesome. But I wanted, we're running out of time here. I wanted to say goodbye, let everyone say goodbye to Jamie, and wrap this up. So Kevin.
Hey, Jamie, thanks for coming on the show, buddy. It's always been a great time getting to chat with you. I appreciate you and Michael and Tom's efforts on putting together CannaJam. I apologize for not being able to be there. I really, really wanted to be there. Time just didn't work out, but I'm looking forward to you guys getting it together next year. If there's anything you guys need help with, I'd love to volunteer my services in any way I can. And thanks for coming on the show, and we'll talk to you soon.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you very much.
Tom.
Oh, Jamie, when you guys contacted me, what was it, August or something of that nature regarding CannaJam? We started the conversation, and I thought you guys were talking about spring of 2022, and I was rolling along with it, and then I heard October 9th, and so you guys are nuts. Let's do it, and you guys pulled it off, and it was awesome. And Michael and his team were absolutely amazing. Coming into a whole new beast, and it's a lot harder than it looks to throw a festival, I know. So they did an awesome job. I'm looking forward to the conversations to come.
Right on, man. So am I. It sounds like we had a good formula there. Stuff to talk about.
Jamie, anything you want to part the show with? Any words of wisdom for the audience?
Well, there are many ways that we can help to stop, these bills from going through. And what I am trying to do, what I'm spending a lot of time on doing, as are others, just trying to encourage people to contact their own state rep right now, encourage them to be in opposition to these bills. If we get 28 minimum no votes in the House, these things cannot make it through. That's my focus for now until I hear that they're dead. And so I encourage everybody to do that. I also just want to, just plug the Botanical Company locations in East Tawas, Lansing, and Kalkaska, with a lounge December or January soon to open. That'll feature the John Sinclair Cafe on the inside, but itself be the Kalkushka Lounge, and with of course Tom and Krista and their people, a big part of that.
That's awesome.
I can't wait.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Looking forward to. Kalkaska's so beautiful and great because of all the marijuana employees that work there. It's like Lansing. You get a different culture than just a town with dispensaries. So man, really excited for Kalkaska. Spent a lot of time.
That's where I'm moving my
there.
office.
Hell yeah. Well, with that, I just wanted to go out on a positive note. This event was put on, by people, Michael Camorn and Jamie, and then of course to help with Tom. But I remember 2009 is when I met all them, and very active. And then there's something you sit around and smoke and you dream about, and they actually get to do it. And we did it, and you guys did it. I mean, it was incredible. It couldn't have happened with a bunch of MCMA members writing a law or a bill. They wouldn't have put that in that. So with that, I'll see everybody next week. Thanks, Jamie.
Thank you. Really appreciate it. Great show.